This is the Net Group Investments Insights podcast, where one or more of our experts explores a variety of views and insights that investors care about.
Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm Natalie Helmbold from Net Group Investments, and today I'm thrilled to be joined by someone very special, Walter Aylett, founder of Aylett & Co. and portfolio manager of the Net Group Investments Bravata Worldwide Flexible Fund. Walt, it's great to have you with us.
It's lovely to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Now, if you've followed Walter or the Bravata Fund for any length of time, you'll know that Walter's been a long-time believer in one of the most iconic names in American capitalism, Berkshire Hathaway. So let's jump straight in, Walt. You've held Berkshire Hathaway in the Bravata Fund since the very beginning, almost 20 years now. What was it about the company that initially caught your attention, and how did it fit into the broader investment philosophy of the fund at the time?
It was around March 99. I used to invest, I don't know if you remember, it was the Coronation New Era SciTech Fund and the Sage SciTech Fund. And prior to that, at the Cyprus days, there was a fund called the Cyprus Prime Select Fund. And they had a focus on growth companies, mainly TMT, as they used to call it, technology, media, and telecoms. Anyway, I was invited to, I kept on hearing this name Buffett. And I thought, who is this Buffett? And my boss used to say, Buffett says this and Buffett says that. And I thought, okay, well, let me go to Omaha. And in those days, there couldn't have been more than 10 to 12,000 people that attended. It was in an old rodeo stadium, I think.
How many attend today?
Over 40,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And probably that will never happen again. So I went there, and I remember my ex-boss at Coronation saying, why are you going? You know, you can read about it, or you can. In those days, we didn't do webcasts. I said, no, I just got a feeling. And it was really the finest decision I ever made, because I was on my way to find the Holy Grail to invest in, and it became more the Holy Grail to how you lead your life. And so over the years, the two gentlemen, Charlie and Warren, kind of helped me clear my front windscreen, set the compass to true north. And it brought me up as an individual. And then I left my previous employer to start Aylett 20 years ago. And Berkshire was in the old fund, a very similar fund to Bravata. And it just made sense in that you had one of the smartest people in the world investing on our behalf. And it's just... it's been probably, I hate the word journey, but it has been. And it was very emotional, first of all, to lighten our investment. Remember, it used to always be about 10% of our fund. To go down to 1% or less than 1%. And that really didn't feel right. For us, it was more, I suppose, like Buffett retiring. It was like us saying, enough now. That's not to say Berkshire's not a great investment. It will be a great investment. There is going to be another time to own it. We just felt, I'm answering a lot of your question in different ways. We just felt, first of all, the United States was not an attractive investment destination overall. And we found many, many other opportunities to invest in, and we needed the cash. And it had done so well for us. And I just felt when I read the last two letters, something had changed for me as a shareholder. And it didn't sit comfortable with me. It had nothing to do in anticipating his resignation. Berkshire's going to be a very fine company in the next 20, 30 years, and we're going to get a chance to buy it again. But at the moment, there's just too many opportunities that I find much more attractive.
And just going back to the performance, so over the years that you've held it, obviously Berkshire's weathered many market cycles. We've had the 2008 financial crisis, COVID-19, and now this kind of post-2020 inflationary environment. How has the company shaped the performance of the fund over all these years?
There's no doubt it's
Any
been...
surprises?
No, it's just, first of all, it's done better than we expected.
Okay.
Because he was very good at under-promising and over-delivering. I wish we had followed him more on companies like Apple instead of just investing in Berkshire. I think what I did learn is Charlie used to say you always get a chance to buy Berkshire. And it falls by 50% in sympathy with the market. So it, as you mentioned, 2008 was a very good time. I remember we paid $65. It's now what's it, 320? I think so. Maybe I'm wrong. I can't even remember. but it's significantly much higher than the 65. And I do think that it's over $1 trillion market cap now. It's going to struggle to grow, say, as much as a tiny little tequila company that we've invested in, or a small little company in the UK, or a chocolate company in Indonesia. It's a good proxy for the US economy. But again, if you read between the lines in his letter, his concerns for the dollar, and not so much a macro view, but things are going to be tough. And I always go back to a piece that Charlie Munger wrote in 2008, where he said basically it's all over. That was the headline to the op-ed that he had written, I think, in the Washington Post. And I hold on to that. And so I have a feeling that the rest of the world would be a much better place to invest in general over the next 5 to 10 years, particularly emerging markets and parts of Europe and Asia. I don't know about Africa and Latin America, but there's enough for us to go around and look at the other places. So we have less now than 25% exposure to the US.
So then it wasn't actually company-specific issues or anything that influenced the decision? More we thought
it was more than full. We thought it was more than full, and we also thought that we had more opportunities, and we don't like pulling the roses out of the fund, but it felt like the rose had matured, and there was a new season might come one day to re-own it. I think Greg Abel's going to be a very good CEO. It's going to be a hugely different company in 5 to 10 years' time. I think perhaps we can talk about what happened in Berkshire this year, which kind of gives you some indication. I mean, no one knew that he was going to retire, except his 2 kids, that he had discussed it. Not the board, not the man sitting next to him, who was Greg Abel. And with 5 minutes to go, I said to my son, there's something going down here. I can feel it. And he announced the resignation. And of course,
so when he announced it, no one in the company knew?
No one knew.
Wow.
Greg did not know. And there's the man. Like, can you imagine?
Surprise, your CEO.
And I mean, the standing ovation that he got, and there wasn't a tear.
What was it like to be there when he announced that? What was the atmosphere like? I mean, it must have been incredible to see in person. I have, goosebumps,
you get goosebumps
just thinking about it.
I mean, I had tears.
Yeah.
Crazy as it sounds, but this was a person who had affected me hugely, and his partner, Charlie Munger. And if you can live 95 years like he has, with all that wealth and have nothing stick to you, you have done something right. That is true success. And he was quite unemotional and rational, as Warren would be. And from next year, he won't even sit on the podium, even though he'll be chairman. He will sit in the audience just like you and I. We will go again next year and listen to Greg. And I suspect we will be shareholders. We still are in a small way.
Yes,
we
1%
won't ever sell our share. But there'll come a time to own a lot of it again. It's a great combination of companies with a cost ethos. He's got a ton of cash to use at his disposal. But I think America's going to be challenged. Buffett always said, don't bet against America. I've disagreed with him for quite a while now. And if you look at past the Magnificent 7 or 8, America's not done well, those companies, those investments. So I think we prefer, and in this world of AI where there's so much uncertainty, I think AI is going to be incredibly disruptive, far more than people expect. It's not just a tool. It's going to replace jobs in some respects. It was very interesting to me when we used to talk about the internet 30 years ago. We'd say travel agents would be dead. They're still around today. So I'm not talking AI up, but it's going to be very disruptive. For me, it's more, in the short term, it's the policies of Trump, or the US government, let's say. It's not just Trump. And I think what they're doing there is extremely destructive. And all the benefits of the last 35 years, in other words, a declining interest rate environment, capital was almost for free, the risk-free rates were very low, inflation was imported from China, deflation, in other words. We had no wars. Globalization was unbelievable. America went on to become the global superpower. All of that's changed to where you've got a rising interest rate environment, inflation. You've got regional superpowers now, and America has become a North American power. Globalization is gone. Tariff is on the increased hazard protection and all these kind of frictional costs. Risk premiums are going up. This cannot be good for assets. So rather go and play in places where the assets aren't expensive. And the amount of money that's gone to the USA has to go somewhere else. Where it's going to go is the trick. You recall in Japan, just before 2000, it took 40% of the world's money. America's up to 70% now. It's just too much. So it's going to be a rough ride the next 10 years, in my opinion.
But with Greg then at the helm of Berkshire, I mean, prospects for the company still looking really positive. And maybe you'd own it again, but you're just going to kind of wait it out and see what happens in the US and for the macro environment to settle.
We're not a macro investor, but it's more about, if you look at Berkshire, it's all about insurance, energy, trains, transport in other words. And those industries are going to be under some kind of pressure as a whole. The rest doesn't, in my opinion, matter, but it does have cash. There's a ton of cash that Greg will be able to use to take advantage. It'll be a fortress-type balance sheet. It is. But for me, it's more there are other opportunities in the world.
Well, Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway have undoubtedly shaped the way we think about investing. We also took a closer look at how Berkshire has contributed to the Bravata Fund's journey. And what a journey it's been. The fund celebrates its 20th anniversary this October, marking not just 2 decades of exceptional performance, but also 20 years of partnership between Aylett & Co. and Ned Group Investments. It's a milestone we're incredibly proud of and one that speaks to the strength of the investment process behind Bravata, focused, disciplined, and built for the long term. Walt, thank you again for sharing your insights and for being such a key part of this story.
Well, if I can add, I know that was your last hurrah before we go, but I think there is a story. I told you about how I presented to some IFAs last week, and it's the same IFAs 20 years ago. It's very seldom you find a fund with the same fund manager for 20 years. I can count a handful of people that still manage the same money. And I guess I want to leave people with the following thought. If one is just patient and one is rational, the greatest risk reducer is time. And if you allow yourself, this is the lesson I got from Berkshire, you allow yourself the luxury of time, your risk just disappears over 10 years. If you're investing for 1 year or 2 years, you are going to make some big mistakes. So that's what I've learned. And if that's one message I can give people, is your compounding is unbelievable as you sit there. And that is what has been Bravata's success. I mean, if you look at the fund, it hardly changes in every aspect. So and then Buffett was this learning machine, and hopefully we can learn, and you can see those learnings in the fund. So thank you again.
Yeah, thank you, Walt. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us. We are certainly looking forward to the next 20 years of partnership, performance, and principled investing. Thank you.
Pleasure.
This podcast is for marketing purposes only. The information contained in the podcast or video was for information purposes and does not constitute advice, recommendation, or an offer or solicitation to purchase or sell any funds or strategies to any person in any jurisdiction in which the offer, recommendation, or solicitation to purchase would be unlawful.